it was really the environment for me, because you learn the plays, you learn the strategies, you adopt the mindsets, and I really thank those guys so much for making me understand the importance of going to build and make money. People have to feel empowered and grow in the space. That's why I always have a host. If you want to build a community that looks to you or reveres you as, an expert or someone that they should follow, you have to do something amazing.
Hey, wait. I know you want to watch this next video, but listen, if you are an entrepreneur, business coach, business consultant, or a small business owner who has a story and wants to learn how to create multiple streams of income from your story, I need you to text me right now, my book, to 646-687-4152. That is my personal number. I have been an author for over 12 years. I've written 10 books. 4 of them have been bestsellers, and I've sold over 100,000 books. But I've also helped a lot of my clients take their expertise and put it into a story, then create multiple streams of income from that. So I want to help you do the same thing. So text my book to 646-687-4152. All right, let's go back to the video. All right, so welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. Listen, from restaurant server to podcast extraordinaire, with an infectious passion for empowering others, our next guest has created several networks that have
reached
millions.
You know me. You're not about to read no intro, man. You my boy.
I gotta read the intro.
Why?
Because I feel like I gotta give you the respect that you deserve.
You my mans, though.
But you gotta let me give you. What that mean? I don't give you flowers no more?
Yeah, but if you was say you was on my show, I'd be like, yo, I gotta talk about Ash Cash. Right. One, he's leading a financial revolution. Yeah. Right? Used to work at the bank, now multi-millionaire.
Right.
Yo, he's published multiple books, multiple bestsellers. Not only that, he's helped other people publish multiple books, and he is the millionaire creator.
Yes.
Okay, not only himself. We got our next guest, Ash Cash. I don't need no notes.
Nah, but
you my man.
But here's the deal, right? So look. Can I do my thing? I read the notes and then I go into me. You know what I'm saying?
Let me.
There's a flow to it. Let me do it. And we're gonna keep all of this in so y'all can see. Look, now I'm gonna read it. From restaurant server to podcast extraordinaire, with an infectious passion for empowering others, our next guest has created several networks that reach millions of people striving for personal growth and looking for ways to achieve their dreams through his podcast, social media channels, and the morning meetup mentorship and coaching platforms. He is changing the landscape for entrepreneurs, new and old. An author, entrepreneur, mentor, motivational speaker, and friend, and has captivated audiences worldwide with his magnetic personality, profound wisdom. He has become a catalyst for change, challenging individuals to break free from their limitations and embracing their full potential. Welcome, David Shands, a.k.a. the Podcast King.
That's a fact. Okay. Yeah, you brought that up.
You know what I'm saying? Let me do what I do, brother. Let me do what I do, man.
Hey, listen, man. I am a podcaster too, so you go in people's studios, you be looking at the lights, like, ooh, where you get that light from?
Yes, sir.
Or the camera, the angles, and I'm looking at all your angles and all that. So I'm gonna be a guest.
Now, please, man,
because
we want. But this one makes every time we connect, it makes it fun, right? Yeah. And to your point, I always want to give you your flowers, right? Because coming into this podcast game. The EYL network and David Shands has made me who I am in this space, right? Because I've done radio for 4 years, live radio in New York for 4 years. And so my interviewing skills and being able to get guests and all that stuff, I've always known how to do that. But when the shift started to happen towards podcasting, I was like a deer out of headlights. All I did was take my live show, put it on the podcast, put it on. I was using Lipson at the time. I would just put it on there, and that was it. Right? I didn't know there was a whole business around podcasting, and so watching Rashad and Troy do their thing, and then literally, you coaching me directly and indirectly, because when I first started the podcast, I just said, yo, I'm just going to interview everybody. Shands interview. Right? If you look at the beginning shows.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie. I was talking about TV. I was like, it seems like Ash just interview everybody I interview.
Yo, literally when it first started, so what I would do, right, because I was on the EYL network, what I would do is I would look to see if EYL interviewed them, and if they didn't, and you interviewed them, I was like, I bet. I would watch your interview, and I would say, oh, I would act it different. I'm gonna do this different, and I would call them and be like, yo, you want to be on the show? And that's how I really kind of started, and I truly believe, and I say this to you all the time, but I want the audience to know that you are a master of this craft, right? Like, I hear people online say like, yo, you're like the Oprah of podcasting. I think that's disrespectful, right? And the reason why I think it's disrespectful because what you do is different, right, from what Oprah does. Oprah's great in her own right, but your curiosity, it always makes for a great show. And I think that you're masterful at being able to make your guests feel so comfortable that they tell you things that they wouldn't normally say, right?
Thank you.
And so I appreciate you, brother. When I say the podcast king, I don't take, you know what I mean? I'm not just throwing that out lightly. And so welcome back inside the vault.
Yeah, happy to be here, bro. Happy.
For those who don't know, I mean, they got to be living under a rock, but maybe, right? Some may not know. So in your words, who is David Shands?
I am a husband, father, entrepreneur, but right now in this life, I am a podcaster, and I own that word. You know what I mean? I embrace it. So some people say, hey, man, stop telling people you got a podcast. Tell them you got a show. And I've never been the person who even wanted to separate myself from the community. There's a bunch of people who want to have a podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, yo, I don't do podcasts, I only do a show, right? And it's people that say, yo, I can't do no show, but I wanted to do a podcast, but I can't find anybody, it might be too low tier. I have a podcast. I remember Cam did this video talking about the Is What It Is joint, and it was like, yo, this ain't no podcast, B, it's a show. And somebody showed me that, they sent me the video. I'm like, yo, he has a podcast. That is a podcast. It's an audible experience, right? So then like a couple weeks ago, actually, he made this joint. Yo, we dropping our joint on, sponsored by Spotify and Apple. Right. You got a podcast, bro. Come on, let's not run from it. Yeah. Right. So I'm owning that space because I want not only an extremely successful podcast, and I've accomplished that, but I want to be the person who helps people create their podcast. Not because it's an amazing business concept, and not because it's definitely the next wave of celebrities, but I think people need to free their voices. People got so much to say, and they're trying to cram it into 60-second Instagram videos, and they're trying to build trust with an audience with 60. You cannot build trust in 60-second clips, right? The fact that we get on here and can share our thoughts and our ideas in entirety, and people can hear it, and we're not taking out a whole bunch of stuff. And listen, people are like, yo, you take out your ums. No.
Right. That's
what you mean.
Absolutely.
You get me.
Exactly.
There are people who identify with, I might be talking, and the fact that I say that gives the audience a chance to break, and they're listening like, okay, all right, now it's making sense and coming together. This person's a real person. Right. So not only a podcast builder, but the creator of creators of podcasts.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I'm intrigued by, and I love how you always are willing to give, right? Meaning that as you learn, you're able to teach others. You've built not only, and you're like a master connector, right? Like not only have you built a very lucrative, and we'll talk about that, podcast, network, everything events, everything that you're doing. You're not afraid of collaboration, right? So most spaces where you see finesse, you see Melanin Money, you see all these podcasts that are gaining steam, you would think like, oh, they Shands competition. Shands like, nah, come on, let's get money together. You know what I'm saying? But also, your platform literally has created countless multi-millionaires.
That's a fact.
Talk about that. Talk about that ability and the feeling that you get knowing that you have literally changed a lot of entrepreneurs' life, their family structure, like in real time, where prior to getting on your podcast, they were probably trying to figure things out. You literally pour gasoline and put them on fire, and then now, I mean, we could name them, but there's a lot of household names
100%.
that came through the House of Shands. Talk about that.
For sure. I mean, I think these people are amazing already on their own, or they wouldn't be on the show. Like, we interview people. It's not like we're not interviewing people off the street. Like, you have to have built something credible. But they just needed a little bit of, like you said, gas on their message. And I think between you and we're asking the right questions that we know our audience wants to know, but it's coming from more of a curiosity, like, yo, I'm enjoying this just like you are, right? So 100%. If I found somebody that accomplished something amazing, I'm not asking questions that I think the audience wants to know. I'm asking questions that I want to know the answer to, but I just know my audience wants to know the same thing I want to know. That's my curiosity, right? So I can't really, I guess we could take credit for, the success of some people, but all of those people created who we are as well.
Right, 100%.
You know what I mean? So these are the people, they come on the show and then they're promoting to their audience and they're making money, getting notoriety from their audience, but they're inadvertently like promoting us. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think at the time, Oprah was having the most notable superstars in the world on her show, right? And I don't know that any of those people became billionaires from being on her show. Right. But she became billionaires by creating multiple millionaires. Right? So that's exactly what we're doing, right? So I love being the platform or kind of the conduit between someone who has an amazing message and a person that needs that message. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we'll get blessed because we're doing
100%. Because you got to even think about it, right? And I've I've watched your journey. Even a lot of what you have used to build wealth come from you connecting with a guest. For sure. You running a play that, like Toro and Airbnb and buying multifamily home, like all of these things that you've been able to do really come from having the conversation, being curious, getting the information, and then applying the information like you want your audience to do, 100%. And then really reaping the benefits. And I would say the same for myself, right? Like, a lot of business deals that I do now are guests, are people that I've connected with and have been able to just go on and make a lot of money with them. You know what I'm saying? And so where do you? So we think about Joe Rogan, right? I think Joe Rogan was the first podcast that we heard of that got $100 million to talk on his podcast. In recent times, we've seen, Wallow and Gilly. The talks are 60 million, 100 million. We don't really know the exact amount, but they got a lot of money. A bunch of bread for $1 million worth of game. Where do you see podcasts? Like, where is podcast right now, and where do you see it going?
It is. I think it's. First off, for Joe Rogan, first $100 million deal, right? Yeah. But you know how long he was podcasting before that deal?
He had 1,000 shows.
Bruh, he was 12 years in the game. Yeah. And he came from like these other shows and all that kind of stuff. But he was podcasting for 12 years before he got a $100 million deal. But what's happening now is once that one hit, there are people who are getting these big deals in a fraction of the time. So you won't have to wait 12 years, right? Call Her Daddy, Alice Cooper. We got Wallow and Gilly. Who knows what type of money they was throwing at Joe Budden. Right. But I'm saying there are people that are getting in the game now who are getting multi-million-dollar deals before they even start their podcast. Because you got to think about the power of what's happening here. If someone listens to you, like if you have a song, people might like the song and they're gonna listen to the song, say the words to the song, but they're not necessarily falling in love with Ash Cash. They like the song. We see one-hit wonders all the time. People love the song. When they're done with the song, if that person doesn't make another hit, then we're done with that person too. Yeah. But in podcasting, if someone's listening to Ash Cash for an hour every single week, it's a different type of fan or 100%. Follower or audience. It's different, right? Yeah. I'm talking about, I'm sure, and I haven't been with you when this happened, but I'm 100% positive you're in the airport and somebody's like,
all the time.
Yo, I listen to you every day. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get that from certain industries. So when you can build a following like that, what would I have to pay you to get in front of an audience of thousands of people who really revere you in that way? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Because if you say, hey, buy this book, it's a good book. The person who's the author of that book is going to reap major benefits. So this is why these companies are saying, okay, Joe, I'll give you $100 million. The company's probably made way more than that, because what they're doing is saying, yo, we got this audience. Apple, don't you want to get in front of them? Give me $1 million. Hey, eBay, LinkedIn, Best Buy, all these companies, you want to get in front of this audience? Give me a few $1 million. So you get 30 companies to give you $40 million for, $1 million each. Like, what are we talking about? Right. So you can imagine what those numbers look like. You know what I'm saying? Like, Best Buy might give Spotify $3 million to promote on Joe Rogan's podcast, right? They got a bunch of their money back. You feel me? Right. So from these loyal followers. So, I think we're in a space now where it's really hot. It's really interesting. It's getting easier and easier to produce it, but it's getting easier and easier to monetize it as well. But where it's going is a lot of people are going to fall off because it's not, let me teach you how to get an Airbnb. You'll make money next month. It's not Turo. It's not like you do it right now and make money immediately. So the people who are willing to build their audience, their skill set, their ability to produce, like making it look good, start going through the maturation process of the podcasting, those will be the next celebrities in the next 5 years.
No, I agree. And so what do you believe though, how can, somebody who is getting into podcasts figure out how to monetize besides I think right now, you talk the Joe Rogans, these $100 million deals, where you have the Best Buys, you have the Coke, you have the Apples, you have all of these big brands that are saying you got millions of followers, so I want to get in front of them. But what about the person watching right now who has 100 followers and wants to start that podcast? They might have a job right now, so their job might be able to fund that podcast a little bit, but they want to be able to make something from the podcast. Are there other ways to monetize their podcast when they're just starting out?
Oh, absolutely. So one, if you're starting a podcast, and let's say you're going to do interview format, study interviewing and asking the right questions. So if you can understand how to set up these cameras, right? The camera, the mixer, and the microphone, if you can get these three things to work together, camera, mixer, microphone, you might have a switcher, right? If you can set that up and hit record, you got a podcast, right? Let's say, for instance, you're an author. Take me back to before you knew podcasting, you knew what a podcast was, and you dropped a book. And I said, Ash Cash, yo, your book is amazing. You know what you need to do? You need to talk about some of the principles in the book. But getting on camera and saying, hey, Instagram, this is why you need to read this book, it's not as effective as having a genuine conversation about your book. So this is what I'll do, Ash Cash. Give me $1,000. I'm gonna set up the camera. I'm gonna come here and ask you a bunch of questions. We're gonna create enough content for the next 2 months. We're gonna do an hour interview, hour and a half interview. Give me $1,000. I'll do the recording, chop up some clips, and give it to you. You got content for the next 2 months. How many books can you sell off of the content? Now, I don't have a big following, but you do. I don't have a big following, but you do. I'm just asking questions. You got the hustle. You're going to be able to promote. You're going to be able to produce your own content, be able to put these clips out. All I'm doing is asking questions. So I'm not talking about downloads. I'm not talking about ad deals. I'm saying, let me provide a service for you, the entrepreneur, to get your message out to sell your product. So that's why I think everyone needs to learn
Everybody,
how to podcast.
absolutely.
If you, just as a business idea, if you have a business, like you need to be like podcasting, you need to learn this whole setup thing and actually maybe hire somebody to interview you on your podcast every single week. Like anybody can do this, right? So that's one way of monetizing if you have no following at all. If you have a message, you can create some merch or a product and use the podcast and center the podcast messaging around your product, your merch, or whatever. And let's say, for instance, it's mental health, and you got a shirt that says mental health. All of your podcast episodes need to be about mental health. You record the episodes, take clips out of it, post it on social media, and say, hey, if you want some merch, or you believe in this movement, or you want this ebook around mental health, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, but get you a t-shirt, get you whatever you're selling. That's another way. You could do some sort of a paywall. Some people will rock with you because they rock with you. Some people will pay it because they rock with you. But some people just pay it for support. Like there are some people that have tens of thousands of people paying them $2 a month, $5 a month, because they're supporting somebody who has a strong message. So that's another way of monetization. You can do the affiliate play, right? So if you have a book or a course, and I sit down with you and say, hey, Ash Cash, I want you to be on my show. I'm going to be promoting this episode, but every course it sells, let me get a piece of that. Let me get a percentage, right? Now I have an incentive to promote another person, and people are more willing to support a referral than a promotion.
100%.
You know what I mean? So you could say, hey, y'all come buy my book. But if I say, hey, y'all should buy his book, my audience is like, yo, okay, I'll buy his book. It's different than me promoting something to you. So every time I'm promoting you, I get a piece of that sale, and YouTube is infinite. You can put the right title, and if someone's searching that title, people that you never knew would follow you. 60% of every video, 70% of every video are non-subscribers.
Wow.
Meaning they didn't hit subscribe, they don't follow me. Means they stumbled on my content.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we had the title that somebody was searching. So that's a few ways. There's so many ways,
so many. And so how did you, podcast.
Hold on, because I'm sure I missed something.
Yeah.
And I'm in my interview mode.
Yeah.
Give me what I miss.
Man.
Monetization.
You did affiliate. You did. We talk about ads, right? So it doesn't have to be the major ads, right?
Yep.
You could do small reads.
Yep.
$1,000, $2,000, $3,000 there. Your own products.
100%.
Right? Your own challenges. Creating a business with somebody who you're interviewing. That's the cheat code there, though.
Come on, bro. Now you're giving out all the secrets.
Too much.
Now.
That's the cheat code, right? Because again, it's your platform. They trust you. They know, like, and trust you. So you have that.
Bro, there are some people who are influential that want to start a podcast, and if you just know how to podcast, you can start a show together.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't know how to podcast, you didn't know all this stuff, and I just came to you like, hey, Ash, we should do a podcast. We'll call it the Ash Cash Show, and I'll be your co-host.
Yep.
My idea, but you're the brand.
Yep.
I set it up. You just come in here and record.
Yep.
But it's our show. I get exposure. We grow this thing together.
Yeah. That's it.
I don't know why people be overcomplicating.
Hey, because you know what it is, though? I think that people, number one, they say public speaking is one of the death-defying things that people hate to do. And then I think that because they look at, podcasts and the potential of millions of people listening to them, kind of scares them, right? And so how do they get over that? Like, how do they get over that fear of, some people don't even like the sound of their own voice.
Yeah, that's true. But for one, it's not that they don't like the sound of their voice because they've been listening to their voice their whole life. If I'm talking to you, I hear my voice, right? Maybe you don't like it on recording because it's just unfamiliar, but anything you do is going to be unfamiliar. But there are so many, a podcast is an audible experience. You can take an idea and create a podcast, meaning, let's say you're a writer. I don't speak, but I write really, really good. Yo, you can go on Fiverr and hire someone to read the thing that you wrote and put that on your podcast.
Yeah.
I'm actually like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm about to just do it. You know what I mean? Like there's some get somebody to like read a chapter of a book and expound on the book. That could be a You know what? I'm about to launch that as a podcast, bro. Like chapters of books, like a chapter, read it, give my own perspective, and the next week I'm like, yo, Ash, what's your favorite book? Hey, do me a favor, read that chapter, give me your point, your principles on it, and we're just reviewing books. That is a podcast that would explode.
And right, we didn't even talk about AI.
What are we talking about right now?
You could train the voice, and that's good. What's your thoughts on that? That's gonna be scary though.
It's gonna be scary.
You can train an AI to talk like you. Somebody, obviously not yet. They can't get the visual aspect of it, but that's soon, right?
Oh yeah, they're getting closer and closer.
Right.
Sure.
You could train. Like, think about this, right? And you gave me this play. So this is another play, actually. You gave me this play where you have your podcast, you have the people who are subscribing already. You start adding other segments to your actual podcast to increase the amount of listens and things, so you could get more money from advertisers, right? So imagine this: you train an AI in your voice. You're still the person that does your main one. Now you hire a VA, somebody, to watch your older podcast and have them take notes on dissecting something, and then that note they let the AI say it. You don't even have to say it.
Bro, it's wild. Yeah, if this was when Martin Luther King passed?
1968.
1968.
Right? I think, April 4th.
You know what's crazy though? And I don't know why this came to my head, but if this was 2023 when they had the recordings of, like, I guess he was cheating on his wife or whatever, we're gonna blame AI. I don't know if that did he bearing on anything. That ain't my voice. It's AI. But the scary part is, we've seen the government do strange things to train people.
Absolutely.
Right? So can we get a voice recording of the admittance to a crime and it hold up in a court of law, and we don't know the difference because it sounds just like
and
the person?
to be truthful, I was listening to Robert Smith talk recently, and he had said they've been working on AI for 30 years though.
Come on, man.
Right? Yeah. And so while this is the first time that's open AI, this is the first time they opened it up to everybody. Yeah. But there's major corporations who have had access to this for 30 years.
Come on, man.
And we're just hearing about this. And so think about all of the different things that they could have been doing with AI that we have no clue of.
Yeah, yo.
Yeah.
They could have been They could have been using little beta versions 15 years ago. We're just seeing it now.
Seeing it now. We're just seeing it now. And so let's talk about your success though, man. Like, you've had a lot of success.
It's been all right.
Was eight-figure entrepreneur, at least, yes?
I mean, over time.
Okay. Right? So over time, right? What would you say is what was the catalyst to that? Like, if you, and I'm glad you said it was over time, right? If you were to point out 1 to 3 things that were like the secret sauce from working at the Cheesecake Factory to now, you're a leader in this entrepreneurship space. Yeah. Like, any entrepreneur in our community that wants to get their business to the next level, they have to come through Shands. Like, that's the talk. Like, I'm like, even when people come,
bro.
Was it?
It's only a few of us.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. No, and I'm saying that to say, like, I put I don't put myself in this boat. This is what the community is saying. Yeah. They've actually even called me a gatekeeper, and I'm like, I'm a gatekeeper, and in my head, I have a negative connotation to gatekeeping, right? Yeah. Because it feels like I'm stopping people when I hear gatekeeping, But the truth is, a gatekeeper is somebody who can provide access, right? And when I think about entrepreneurship, like Inside the Vault has created many millionaires as well. And so when I think about EYL, when I think about, Social Proof, when I think about Inside the Vault, when I think about, we're like the top, you know what I'm saying? Like we're, like if this was rap, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas, like, to be honest, you know what I'm saying? What are the 1 to 3 things that you would say that has allowed you to amass an empire that is a 8-figure, soon to be 9-figure enterprise?
I think one of them can encompass all 3 in its environment. I've been a community builder for a long time.
Yeah.
It's not just, I didn't just start doing events and I didn't just start bringing people together. I'm talking about, I was doing workshops at clubs and bars and lounges on their slow nights and bringing people together for events. I've been doing that for a decade now. And that's all I've been into. But I got around a group of people where all they talk about is money. And once you first started, you're like, yo, all y'all talk about is money?
Yeah.
And it was kind of aggravating and annoying. Yeah. But eventually you get around money long enough, you get around that conversation long enough, you're like, yo, you know what? I think I want to get some of that, what y'all talking about. Thanks, yeah. Right? But for a long time, I'm like, yo, all these people, they're all about money. I kind of shied away because I never wanted to be that. Yeah. But because I'm not that, I needed to be around it. So whatever you're not, you need to get around it. That's the one right there. I got around, and these, my brothers like Neo, 500, they talk about getting to this paper.
All the time.
All the time. And eventually, they're my guys, I'm like, nah, I ain't really about that. But then they helped me realize, yo, 1, I'm selfish. 2, I'm lazy. 3, I'm using it as an excuse for my inability to go get this money. Yeah. So that's why I didn't like that, because it was really a reflection on me. Oh, 100%.
You, for sure.
People don't like something that they can't do.
Right, 100%.
And they'll talk bad about the thing that they can't do. Yeah. Right? So I started specifically Neo, man. He's always talking about strategies on making money. Yeah. So
I don't think Neo gets enough credit.
He don't, bro.
I don't think he gets enough credit.
He doesn't.
When I think about, before, informally, he had made me more money before I knew him. Yeah. And I think about, the class of entrepreneurs, because it's classes now, right? We in season 4 now, right? That's why I say, it's classes. We were season 1, then you got, season 2 entrepreneurs. So we in season 4 now, where a lot of us who were season 1, we're moving on to other things. While the stuff that we did in season 1, we're watching other people who kind of run those up. And when I see, Neo is part of a lot of those seasons. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. He don't get enough credit, bro. Yeah. Because he understands it. He's going after it. And he's not shy about it either. He's like, yo, I'm building.
But a lot of people also, and I think that's the thing that people don't realize, a lot of people don't realize that he's been in this game for a very long time. Yeah. If you remember, because I remember him from the Steve Harvey show. You know what I'm saying? If you remember, the grind, I think I saw him post something recently, years ago, him starting a garbage truck, right? Yeah. And so, even myself, who, a lot of people may have just heard of me through the pandemic, let's just say, but I was on radio, I did magazines, I did books, right? So I did a lot of stuff, and so a lot of people don't realize that, like you said, you've been a community builder for a decade, and there's a testament to, just keep going.
Yeah, 100%. Just keep going. Yeah. So they started talking about making money, right? But again, whatever you're not, you need to be around it. So if you are an introvert and you want to kind of break out of that, you just need to get around more extroverts. Yeah, you know what I mean? If you are money, 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 but your personal life or your spiritual life hasn't really been a major focus, you need to get in that environment, because just the environment will change you. Yeah. Your environment will change you before you change it. There's nothing you could do about it.
I agree.
The way a polar bear became a polar bear is a brown bear wandered into a region where it needed a thicker coat. Its teeth had to change just by over time in this colder environment. The polar bear brown bear transformed into a polar bear over time, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't care who you are. You might be the most, I don't know, holy, rollingest, in church every day. Get into a different environment long enough. You'll find yourself using words you wouldn't normally use. You find yourself thinking thoughts you normally wouldn't think of. That's why I don't go to strip clubs. I don't need the pictures.
Right.
And I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but that's not me, because I don't need the images and the pictures in my head of someone that's not my wife.
Right.
Again, people look at me like, oh, you corny and all that kind of stuff, bro. It's just, I know what an environment will do to you.
Absolutely.
So you got to protect it with everything you have.
Environment, music, what you put, all
everything,
that.
bro. You think you just like the songs and it's not doing something to you?
No, it's subconsciously.
Bro, and that subconscious, that internal, it starts to show its face externally.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. So, I would say, bro, it was really the environment for me, because you learn the plays, you learn the strategies, you adopt the mindsets, and I really thank those guys so much for making me understand the importance of going to build and make money. And the cool thing is, I have more of a hunger for making money, but because I spend so much time in my spiritual environment at my church, I'm there multiple days a week, and I talk to, we're in a group chat. It balances me out, so I don't get too hungry for it, but I still got that bite where I go get it. But I take that and I do what I can to support this other side.
And let me ask you this, right? And this is like a personal question that I
Is this just a prop?
No, I got water.
Can I have it?
You can have it, bro.
Oh, my man.
Abundance water, yo. I got my own water.
You got your own water?
My own water, natural spring water, 7+ pH, so it's naturally alkaline. It's bottled at the source. Salute to my brother Fahim Ali at Keen Water Supply. Abundance water coming. I mean, it's here. It's not even coming soon. Look, taste that. Natural. Natural. You know what I'm trying to say? Put some respect. Abundance is your birthright. So this is a personal question, right?
Yep.
And I want to know, how do you navigate this? Because, this is good, right? As a podcaster, there's a lot of people that you interact with. Some are good, some don't have good intentions, right? There's a lot of, back and forth. You get cool with a lot of people. There's entrepreneurship wars, like people beef all the time. You have a spiritual foundation. Some of your friends, some of the people that you hang out with, some people may not. How do you, number one, as a podcaster, balance it out where you're not taking sides, where these entrepreneurship beefs happen, and you're still remaining, professional, if you will, within what you do as a podcaster, but then also when you interact with entrepreneurs that may not be aligned with you from a spiritual perspective, how do you move in that space?
If I'm understanding the question, it doesn't really affect me, because we're here to do a job. It's not like I'm hanging with someone with low integrity on a regular basis. Yeah. I'll sit there and, first off, if I even sense you have low integrity, we're not on the podcast or hanging out ever.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't affect me. If we're cool, I'm giving everybody the benefit of the doubt until you do something crazy.
Right.
And then I'm like, all right, you did something crazy. It don't got nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking nobody's sides on anything.
Yeah.
Because in a situation where two people are beefing, they both did something wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking sides unless it's somebody attacking one of my friends and I don't know you.
Right.
Then, this is my dog.
Right.
So I'm taking that side. But if it's two friends, if I'm understanding your question, I don't take the sides, bro.
Have you ever had a situation though where two friends are beefing, or two people who you're cool with are beefing, and somebody wants to be on your platform and somebody takes offense at them being on your platform?
No one's ever taken offense, because that's stupid. Yeah. Why would you take offense? You mad at them.
Right.
I'm not, if somebody, let's say for instance, somebody says, yo, Ash Cash robbed me. Well, Ash is my man.
Yeah.
You mad at me for going on Ash Cash? You got a problem with that, man. You need to figure that out.
Right.
Okay, that ain't got nothing to do with me. And if you're asking me to defriend somebody, and that's the requirement for our friendship, we need to visit that conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you don't like me because I like somebody else, that's a whole nother dynamic. So I never been in a situation where it's been that deep. Now, if there's a situation where, let's say, and I'm not going to use you as an example, but one of my friends did something crazy, like, I don't know, sexually assaulted another one of my friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like equally tight with both of them.
Yeah.
I haven't been confronted with that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah. No, because I'm always curious, and I don't play the politics either, but I usually find out afterwards, like there's something, like like somebody might say a slick comment, and then I'll be like, and I put the pieces together, because I guess I'm not on gossip, so nobody really comes to me with like what's happening, but you kind of see, and you're like, oh, I think there's something there, right? And then you start to kind of put pieces together and realize that there's issues, and so I just just kind of always wanted to ask
Yeah,
that.
for sure. I mean, I've had situations too, even in business dealings, where somebody that I'm friends with, and they do me wrong, they do me dirty over some money, like, you don't want to pay me money you owe me or something like that, and I just let it go. You know what I mean? I could like chase after you and fight and like why? There's so much other things, and I just know that's humans, bro.
Right.
Humans are weird,
Right.
And maybe it's my I'm just guarded in that way.
Yeah.
Like if somebody does something, like let's say my best friend does something offensive to me, I'm never shocked, because that's human beings, bro.
Yeah.
And I've learned to not take things personally. That's something that person's dealing with. They're sick.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can only feel sorry for sick people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I love that. And so let's talk about community, because man, you are. I mean, like you said, you've been building communities for a very long time. I watch you masterfully like bring people together from all walks of life, and I was surprised. I mean, environment is big for sure, but I was surprised you didn't say community, right? Because when I look at from the outside looking in, I'm like that's what I attribute to it. I said, yo, Shands is so good at building community. Yeah. That's how he was able to build, this massive empire. How important for somebody who's watching right now, who's now they know, right, by watching the show, they have to be, get their own podcast.
For sure.
They have to start. But how is community as important, equally important? Like how important is building community?
Right. Remember, I was saying I can encompass my 3 in 1, which is environment. Yeah. So your community is your environment. It's not just the people that I teach is, I built a community. Yeah. I built a community. Like you are a part of my community, 100%. Right? Like we have our own community of people. We talk on a higher level. Absolutely. But I also have a community of people that I'm teaching and shepherding and coaching, right? So yeah, a community is important, but people look at it as, you got to build a community of paying subscribers, and now you've built a community. This podcast has built a community. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like people who understand inside the vault, right? And if you seen Ash Cash last, that's going on around the world right now, 100%, right? 100%. Like there are people talking right now. Yo, did you see that last episode? Yeah, I saw it. Yo, this was da-da-da.
Yeah, 26 countries.
Bro, there's a top community 200. Around the podcasting that you built. You just don't get to see them like that. Right. But so, yeah, for sure. So I believe you should always be stuck in the middle. Yeah. You need a mentor and a mentee. So you got to build a community of people that are on a higher level. So that you're thinking on a higher level. You're getting the strategies from a higher level. You got that mentorship. You got that big vision, right? So you can learn. Yeah. But you also need mentees, people that you can take the stuff that you learned, apply it, and teach it. not for a dollar amount, but teaching is the best way to learn.
Yeah.
If you learn something and then you don't use it, then you're only going to retain it for a little while. But if you teach the stuff you learn, you retain a much greater percentage of that. So all I do is I learn from my mentors, I apply the stuff, and I teach the people who are looking to be coached from me. So I'm both a mentor and a mentee. So that's how I wrap my community.
Yeah.
It's not just one-sided. Yeah. There's some coaches where all they got is a community of paying subscribers. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah. But if they really want to be impactful and take their whole life to another level, you need both sides. Yeah. And then there's a group of people that only have mentors, right? So they're never like pouring down to that next generation. Right. I don't care if you haven't been successful. Go to some high schools, teach them how you left high school. Teach them how you graduated college. They're in high school. Teach them the things that you've learned through life. And that helps you learn and hold accountability to yourself. So environment it's everything. But I guess on a smaller level, community is how you wrap yourself in that positive environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And how do you build community? Like you, you broke it down on a high level and the importance of it. But I want the Shands sauce, right? Because again, I think that there's, and I don't know if you do. I mean, to me, it has to be a conscious methodology because you do it so well.
There is.
But what is that like? Give me some tangibles on like, right now, I have the abundance community. I have about 100, people in my community. My goal by the end of the year is to build 1,000, people inside of my abundance community. How do I do that?
All right. One, my advice for you would be a little bit different because you're going to be on a higher level, maybe. But one is do something amazing first. If you want to build a community that looks to you or reveres you as, an expert or someone that they should follow, you have to do something amazing. Because how do you teach something if you've never done it? I mean, just get some social proof, like build something, do something. You wrote your first book, great. Now you can teach somebody else how to write their first book. You can build a community of people who have done what you've done, meaning sideline community. And now you can start teaching people because some of them have no idea what the first step is, but they want to do it. So if you do something amazing first, you can build a community around the people because you're at least one step higher than them. You've at least done a little more than they have, right? So if you've done something amazing, you have to create some sort of offer where the people that are joining the community get some greater benefit, right? So not only do you have to do it, you got to study how to teach the thing that you did because not everybody who does it can teach it, right? So you got to be able to teach well and empower people. 3, you have to force networking amongst the community because if they all look to you, that community will slowly die. So you have to, some people will stay for you, but if they stop liking you, some people will stay because all their friends is here. You're not going to leave somewhere where all your friends are. So you got to force collaboration, but some people want to keep the whole community to themselves and, hey, I'm the person that you go to for answers. I don't want to do that. Next step is you got to slowly start elevating people and highlighting people in your community, giving them roles and responsibilities so that the people in the community see that other person as, oh, they've started in the community and they're assistant manager now, they're manager now, right? That keeps the community inspired that, whoa, there's another level. I can get closer to the community leader. But you also got to build the community above mentorship, right? So you can bring some of those people to the community. And it's not just all about you. So they get higher level information and are always looking for the next person that you're going to bring to the community. So, and don't be a dictator. You know what I mean? I don't just pick the book saying, oh, this is the book of the month. This is what we're going to read. We do a poll live on the call. Yo, we got 3 books. Let's all vote. Go. On Zoom. And everybody, and they can see the percentage. Oh, 43% of people pick this book. We're going to read this. Y'all pick that. You know what I mean? And I mean, we do a lot of stuff like our morning meetups. We do live events, which is over and above what I promised them. Promise Monday through Friday we on a call. But I do this at least once a year. Rent out a venue. I spend $40,000, $50,000 to create an environment where they're flying in from all over the country to connect, learn, have fun, and network with each other. So those are some of the elements.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think, for myself in the beginning and a lot of people listening, I think for the most part, they have missed the ball on building leaders within the community and creating that camaraderie. Like I've been able to see, my communities grow where I wasn't the smartest person anymore, right? Like it wasn't based on me. Yeah. Now this community is based on a movement. I'm just the coach. I'm facilitating the movement, but now people are connecting within each other, with each other, and that creates that stickiness.
Yeah, I think there's a real challenge attached to that, because if, let's say you're in my community, right? And I'm like, yo, Ash Cash came from the community. He's growing, he's building, and you go out and you build something amazing. Right. You can take half my congregation. Right. If we ever get into it, right, you can take half my congregation. Right. That's a real that is a real thing that a lot of leaders are afraid of, but it's a valid feeling. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so you'll see people try to suppress certain people because it's like, yo, I don't want to give that person too much power, because if they get too much power, then they could leave, and I need them. Right.
How do you stop that from happening?
You can't. You can't.
Yeah.
You just can't be afraid of it. It's my responsibility. So if you were in my community, I'm like, yo, Ash Cash, you got a podcast competing, like his joint doing numbers. It's my objective as the leader to grow faster than anybody in the community. There's nobody in that community that's gonna work harder than me. Not that I'm like suppressing their work ethic, not saying, hey, stop growing. Right. I'm just saying, I'm gonna double the rate. Of growth. I'm gonna go get more experience. I'm gonna continue. If I see like, yo, you killing these calls, you're a better speaker, I'm going to go out and start getting better at my presentation style. You feel me? So it's a real thing to be mindful of. But again, I'm only saying it because I see how it's a valid feeling.
Right, 100%.
But you can't stop it. You can't help it if you want to grow big.
Yeah. And when that happens though, is there ever a time? Like you said, like you've been conscious of the growth, and I'm sure it hasn't happened. But what's your thoughts? Like, if it were ever to happen, do you then? Can one of your mentees ever become your competition, if you will?
I would imagine it could, but I mean, I'm not competing against anybody. Right. Like, I'm running a race. Right. You feel me? Like, so look at this. So you could be looked at as competition, right? Because we're in the same space, we got the same demographic, same viewers, right? Yep. What's your highest viewed video?
667,000.
667,000. I think my highest viewed would be maybe somewhere around that. But there's 8 billion people in the world.
100%. Yeah.
So, okay, you got 100 people in your community. I think and I've been doing mine longer, only because you've been doing yours free. Ash Cash was doing his free on live every single morning. At the same time, I'm doing the paid community. So you just started a little later.
I remember when you told me that, our first interview, I was like, yeah, I'm doing this free, but I did it for 2 years for free. And then you told me at the time how much you were making from like building the community and how many people paid. I was like, I think I was depressed for like 2 days.
Right, yeah, for sure. But congratulations on the abundance community. Exactly. But let's say, okay, you got 100 people in your community and you see a rising star, right? And let's say that person, y'all start beefing or something like that, and he tells everybody, yo, I ain't rocking with Ash Cash, I'm out. Yeah. That person's not taking 100%.
Right.
Let's say they take 70%. Yeah. If you can't go find another 70 people, you don't need to be leading people anyway.
I agree. Yeah.
Right? Because you'll get tens of thousands of people in your community, right? Yeah. So I'm leaning on my own philosophy. Like, yo, people have to feel empowered and grow in the space. That's why I always have a host.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm always inviting people to come speak and all that kind of stuff. So I'm never afraid to shout somebody out.
Yeah.
Because I keep in mind there are 8 billion people.
Yeah.
And the more people that come from my tree, the bigger I'll grow.
Yeah.
That's why EYL ain't like stingy with people. Like,
Right.
look how many people came from their tree.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's going to keep growing. It's going to keep splitting and expanding.
Yeah.
And their empire, their influence, their footprint will continue to grow.
Yeah.
Because now anybody that I introduce to podcasting essentially is coming from EYL's tree.
Right.
You know what I mean? They've had such an impact on the culture and myself, right? So anybody that if you start coaching podcasting and you get your own network and you got mad people, they are EYL's grandchildren.
100%. 100%.
That's why they're going to keep growing, because they don't have that mindset that I got to control this small group of people we got.
100%.
So.
No, I agree. The podcast summit.
It's up.
Let's talk about that, man.
I thought you'd never ask.
Man, like the power, right? We talked about the power of podcasting, and the power that's in that room is like next level. And that's the other thing about competition is if you watch, let's say, anybody you've interviewed that I've interviewed, those interviews are totally different.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Because I have a style of interviewing, you have a style of interviewing. The way I interview is different from you by the mere fact that I'm not you.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And so I don't even like look at any, like I will, like I know that there's always going to be a benefit with somebody watching my show and watching your show and watching EYL and watching all of the other shows, because again, I mean, even and you know, just like I'm on the EYL network. If you watch an interview that EYL has done and an interview that I've done of the same person on the same network, and they're different.
100%. And they're all going to get views.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, so the podcast summit has been something on my heart for the last year or so. I did a conference called Black Equity Con.
Which was powerful.
2022. That joint was crazy.
Yeah.
And that was something that me and Drew, we were planning for a few months before we came together and like really figured out, okay, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And it was a dope event, right? So it was your traditional conference. It's event, but we have an element of like creating community and environment that I don't think anybody has like that. But it was an amazing event where you can learn a bunch of stuff, whether it's credit, income strategies, marketing, branding, speaking, all that kind of stuff. But I was like, dang, man, most conferences are general success conferences where you're going to get a little bit of everything, which is good. But I said, well, if I'm going to own a space, I need to go niche. I need to build the community of people who are only doing this. So there are book writing conferences where we're only focused on becoming an author. Now, there's a bunch of elements of being an author. How do you write a good book? What's the psychology behind the cover? What is the marketing strategy, right? What are the new things, innovations going on in the space? They have conferences for all these different things, but it's not many for podcasting. And I looked at it as an opportunity. So I actually went to a conference for podcasting, and it was just so interesting that while I was there, I'm networking, talking to a bunch of people, and they find out the success that I've had, and most of them start asking me questions, right? In the lobby, we're out at lunch. They're like, yo, I want to go to lunch, I want to learn. And all of them were like, yeah, man, so I'm on the panel speaking on this thing tomorrow. And I'm like, yo, you don't even know anything about it.
Wow.
There was mad people that were just, they have a podcast, but they have no idea what they're doing in podcasting, right? And they've had menial like success, but they have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I'm about to go get the most successful podcasters in the world for this summit. So this one, we got the legendary EYL, right? And what's cool is they're super successful and they understand podcasting better than anybody that I know, but they don't teach it, right?
Yeah.
Only because they're busy teaching teaching our people financial literacy. Right. So they're not spreading themselves thin like, oh, we could teach credit, we could teach podcasting. So I'm like, yo, I need to get it straight from the horse's mouth how you all built this. in strong detail, getting down to the details for everyone that wants to do what y'all did.
Yeah.
And Troy started giving me some game, and he was like, yo, I'm a hold it for the summit.
Yeah.
Yo, Troy started talking about them numbers
Right.
and sponsorship. Oh my God.
No, he's like he studies though. He studies the game for sure.
He's a different beast.
Yeah,
bro.
100%.
And so how they're moving through the room and how they're getting on every platform and how they're structuring these $1 million deals, we need to know, right? And they're not trying to hide it, but when do they have time to teach it?
Right.
Podcast Summit.
Yes, sir.
Angela Yee, who has been a media giant
For years though.
for decades.
Yeah.
I haven't heard her teach it. Why? Because she's just busy building, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe her ministry or passion isn't like teaching the stuff, but there are questions that need to be answered that she has the answer to. So when I asked her, she's like, yo, sure, I'm there.
Yeah.
Wall Street Trapper is like
salute, man.
one of the top 50 business podcasts in the
planet,
world.
On the planet.
It is not just because he's good, though he is good.
Right.
There's some strategy to building that brand,
Yeah.
right? So
watching him do it from scratch though in a shorter period of time.
Trap is a monster, bro.
Yeah, what I'm saying.
How does every one of his videos go viral? It's not just his name.
Right.
He's good,
Right.
and he understands this stuff.
Yeah.
B. Simone and Megan,
They
Know For Sure
yeah,
podcast.
Yeah, their podcast is going
Bro,
crazy.
I think they'll hit like top 10 podcast, not top 10 in their genre.
Category, just like period.
They hit like top 10 in the world of all podcasts, bro. Like how you do that.
Right.
And it's not just because she's an influencer, because there are celebrities, influencers that drop a podcast and go double wood.
Facts.
And then they stop doing it, right? So they have some sort of sauce where they're moving. First off, their branding is incredible.
Yeah.
So we need to know how you did that. Like there's an element that we talked about on merch. So if you have a podcast, I think you need to have merch.
Yeah.
But who better to teach it than Justin Phillips, who is building out brands for celebrities and people. Like he's showing me his DMs. He's like, "Yo, this is crazy." Built the Support Black Colleges company with his partner Corey. So he's going to be teaching exactly where to get the blanks, how to monetize it, how to grow it. He's teaching how podcasters need to monetize it. We got Ash Cat in the building.
You know where you heard it first.
Let's not play.
Yeah.
Let's not play.
Yeah.
Yo, do you think it would be helpful if you're teaching a podcast on trauma, having a book, how to handle trauma? So on every single episode, you say, hey, make sure you get the book. It goes through a whole bunch of things that we talked about. Since you watched this episode, you need it. Now you got something you can sell every single podcast, even if 100 people saw it.
Yeah.
What if 5 of them buy it? You made $100, $150, depending on the price of the book.
Thanks.
Yo, there's so many people coming that I'm like drawing a blank, but we got so many people. Tori Gordon, who is one of the top business podcasts right now, Holla to High, and these are people that aren't in our normal circle. Like I'm going to the other culture. There are people that don't look like us, Ash Cash, that are crushing it.
Yeah.
We're going to the other culture. I'm going to the networks. I just sent an invite to Red Circle, who's the platform we're both on. I need y'all a part of this conference.
Yeah.
I got a meeting with iHeart. Like they want to be a part of the conference because there are certain things that we just don't know. Right. The people that's doing the podcast deals, like I was on a panel with the attorney that did the deal for Drink Champs. And he started talking about the deal and how these people are moving and what is the psychology behind getting this money to these podcasters and what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Bro, I need you at the summit.
Right, facts.
There's so many things that we just don't know.
Yeah.
My man Finesser, who's probably...
Yeah, I was going to say, yo, Finesse, he go crazy.
Oh my gosh. Every video go viral.
Go viral.
But the way he does it, it's not luck.
Yeah, no. He's methodical about it. You can
Bro,
see. Yeah,
it's a science behind pulling the right clip.
Right, 100%.
The look of it, like we got Omar. Yo, there's so many people, bro. I can't just sit here but July 30th and 31st is lit. But we also got a challenge, Launch a Podcast Challenge, which, it's a 5-day experience. And I recommend people get like VIP or the Platinum because it comes with the ticket to the summit as well. So my objective is, how can I start? Look, most people, if you could buy a ticket right now, I'll see you in July.
Yeah.
But one of my things is the sooner someone gets a ticket, the more information I want to give them. Meaning we're doing pre-summit like workshops 2 or 3 times a month. Meaning all the people who bought a ticket right now, we're getting on the call and we're talking about it because I want to answer some questions now.
Right.
So by the time you get to the summit, you'll have different questions.
Right. 100%.
Right? There's some people that want to launch their podcast, and when they come to the summit, they'll for sure be able to launch their podcast. But what if I can get them to launch it before and then they come back, come and say, yo, I got this process going on my podcast. I got different questions now. Right? So we're doing pre-podcast training. We have an app that people are networking with in the app before the summit so that when you get there, you're not alone. And we can identify, you in New York too? Yo, let's get together. Let's get a room together. Let's go down together. Yo, let's all take a trip. It's in Miami. There might be a busload of people in the app saying, yo, who want to ride down there from Atlanta? Let's go Let's go together. So we can build community. Bro, I'm so serious about this community thing, bro. 100%. And this environment. If you can build it, you can have success in anything. So I'm not hypocritical. I'm implementing all the things you need to have a successful experience at the event. Now, if you're just coming and you're not going to do all that stuff, it's cool. Get there. You'll get whatever you need from the summit. But it's my job to over deliver. I just want to do something that nobody does. When you buy a conference ticket, you wait to go to the conference. Am I right? At what point do you start learning stuff before the conference comes?
Right. And I love that though, because that's powerful what you said, and it's true. Where if you wait for the conference and now you go there and now you're learning from all of these top experts that you have, it's going to be hard for you to implement it, right? Because now it's just information. But imagine you go through the challenge, right? And you learn how to launch your podcast and you go through some stumbling blocks before the conference. So now it's not just knowledge.
100%.
Now when you go and somebody answers a question, you're like, oh, that's what I was doing wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you didn't do it yet, if you didn't do nothing yet, now you're sitting there just taking in all this knowledge and now everything is theory to you. But if you launch the podcast ahead of time, right through the 5-day challenge. Now, by the time you get to the conference,
100%.
It's not theory anymore.
It's super important. If you have not launched your podcast, you definitely want to go through the Launch Your Podcast Challenge. If you launched it and it's not as you don't find it growing, you definitely need to go to the Launch Your Podcast Challenge. You need to go to the challenge and the summit, but specifically, like, go to Launch Your Podcast Challenge and like get your tickets, because it is a life-changing experience, bro. 5 days, I'm giving you the game. I'm not holding nothing back. At the end of the challenge, you'll be able to launch a podcast. It's not like you got to buy an offer at the end to actually launch your challenge. I'm saying get that general VIP, whatever level you get, you will be able to launch your podcast at the end of this. Guaranteed.
Yo, link in the description.
Yes, sir.
Where can they go to launch a podcast?
Launchyourpodcastchallenge.com.
Y'all. Look, last question I have for you. How do you see the haters? That's the first question.
Who?
Do you see the haters?
I don't.
Enough said.
I don't understand. I don't comprehend.
Because you know, I think it's funny, right? Like when you obviously when you get to a certain level, people who have never done what you've done, who's never been in a position that you've been in, they want to critique and want to have conversations, and just knowing who you are. That was one thing that I was wondering. I'm like, I wonder if, and I don't know, because I don't know if I have them. I don't know. But and I don't know if you have them either. But I was just kind of wondering.
I don't know if I have. I mean, it's really, really hard to hate on me.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I agree that. I would agree with that 100%.
You gotta be like.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't like come at nobody. I don't. It's just hard to hate.
Yeah.
But if they are,
it says a lot about, you know what I'm saying? It says a lot about you if you're not feeling us.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying?
What part of what I be talking about
Facts.
don't you like? You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, 100%. But if they exist, bro, you have to understand that they are sick.
Yeah.
Like if somebody did you wrong, right? But then you found out that they had cancer and they're in the hospital, sick, dying.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like slander their name. you'd be like, yo, that person's sick.
Yeah.
So somebody that wants to do harm to your eyes, somebody that just, they always have something negative to say.
Yeah.
You make a post and they're like negative in the post.
Yeah.
That person is sick. Yeah. Like you're going through something,
and they write
bro.
paragraphs too sometimes in the comments.
What mental state do you have to be in to sit there
and write a whole paragraph?
And write a whole paragraph of hate, which, by the way, I'm not reading.
Right, facts.
And I think you know that I'm not going to read it.
Right, facts, yeah.
Right? So, like,
you're hoping somebody else reads it, and now you have a conversation.
Bro, I feel so bad because, man, what if I was that person? Yeah. They're in an unfortunate scenario.
Yeah.
And what led them to be that type of person? It could have been past trauma, could be their background. They could have grew up in a negative household where everything was negative. Yeah. They could never do nothing right. Their mom or dad just never said, yo, good job. And everything was wrong with everything that you did. You get dressed for school and your dad's like, yo, why would you wear them pants? Like, look the way, like, you know, there's no celebration.
Yeah.
So they grow up to be this hateful person. But is it really their fault that they're hateful?
Yeah.
Nah. It was the environment and circumstances. I think there was a quote that said, you are exactly, or they are exactly who you'd be if given the circumstances that they were in. Meaning,
that perspective.
Yeah, somebody that's in prison right now, bro, you're not no better than that person. They are exactly who you'd be if you grew up where they grew up. If you wasn't like covered and blessed, bro. I can't take credit for 98% of the things that I've done, bro. It's almost like, bro, I can't take any credit. You know what I mean? I think I've been continually covered for whatever reason throughout my life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I was in an environment of, we were selling drugs. Thank God I wasn't good at it. Right. You know what I mean? Right. But what if I was as good as somebody else, right? I've been so covered, bro. I got in a car accident. My car flipped over like 4 times. Wow. I'm here. Wow. You feel me? Yeah. So, man, people that are like that, man, my prayers go out to them. I hope they find some sort of peace and find something more productive to do with their life. Yeah. You know what I mean? How much of your faith do you take into business with you? All of it. All of it, yeah. Yeah, all of it. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not about to cheat you out of nothing. I'm not hiding nothing from you. It's just, I want to be able to preach through my actions so that one day somebody says, yo, what's your belief, bro? Like, yo, you go to church? You go to the mosque? I want someone to ask, not that I said anything like, hey, you need to come get your life right. Right. But if they're going through something, I get calls and conversations like that all the time. It's like, yo, they think I can help them with their spiritual journey, not because I'm overly spiritual, but if I get a chance to have a conversation with somebody, I'll share some words with them. You know what I mean? So I am who I am in any environment. Yeah, I love it. All right, y'all. David Shands, the podcast king. My brother. Yo, how was this interview, brother? It was phenomenal, bro. One podcast king to the next. Yo, you went crazy. I loved it, man. Of just keeping the conversation on track and this joint was But you made me nervous though, because I had a bunch of questions, and there was one time that I looked at my question and you looked at me in a way that's like, damn. So I thought it was a timer or something on it. No. It was actually questions, but then you looked at me away. Then I was like, I put it back because I was like, damn, he making me nervous. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna just go off the top, right? I'm gonna just go off the top and let the conversation flow. It was like, it's pressure though. That was good. You know what I'm saying? Podcast host pressure. So I was like, I ain't asking none of these questions, B. My bad, team. Look, we work hard on these questions, B. But my bad, B. Is there anything on there you want to ask? It's okay if there's a. Nah, I think we covered it, B. Let's just see. Organically, see, that's dope, man. And I think it's cool too that you need to be able to do both. Because some people are reliant on their questions, and if their iPad goes out, it's over. Oh no, this is one I didn't ask. Okay. Looking ahead, what future trends do you anticipate in the podcasting industry, and how do you plan to adopt and stay ahead of the curve? That's a good question. Yeah, that's a really good question. Oh, hold on. For sure, we're already seeing it. People want to see the hosts live. We're seeing tours, things of that nature. But all of the money that's poured into radio will be poured into podcasting. We're already seeing it. For the last century, radio advertising and TV advertising took up most of the advertising dollars. But we're seeing, like 2 years ago, the advertising industry went over the $1 billion mark. It's not slowing down because this is the first time in history that people were willing to listen to a person for longer than an hour on a regular basis outside of church.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So you think about even these interview shows, whether it was 106 in Park, it was probably a collective 8 minutes of interview.
Right. Fact.
You feel me?
That's
so, or the radio, it's talking and then music most of the time. So it's not like a full-fledged conversation or interview. Even Oprah, bro, it was commercial breaks.
Right.
If there was what was Oprah, a 30-minute show?
Yeah.
It was probably 15 minutes of conversation.
And the rest was
you feel me?
Yeah.
But podcasts, we are building audiences of people who are locked in on every word for a long period of time, and that's who advertisers want. They want that customer.
Right.
And if I can get Ash Cash to endorse this product, that following will believe him because he's never led us astray. Yeah. We trust him. We believe him. So, there will be. I'm just waiting for the first podcast billionaire. Networks will continue to grow out.
Yeah.
The multi-million-dollar deals will come more and more often in the next 2 years, and you'll start to see them flowing, and it will be expected because the bar is being raised, and we understand our value now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it, y'all. Love it. The podcast king himself, David Shands, in the building. We are closing out the vault. Listen, make sure y'all join the 5-day challenge. Launchyourpodcastchallenge.com.
Yes,
link in the description. If somebody want to connect with you, where can they find you?
At Sleep is for Suckers on Instagram, Social Proof Podcast on Instagram, and subscribe. Do me a favor. If you are not subscribed to the Social Proof Podcast, I need you to pull out your Apple or your Spotify device right now and subscribe to the Social Proof Podcast. Guess what? It's free. It don't cost you nothing. You can go into your app and subscribe. You'll enjoy it. I promise you. If you want to take it to another level, they want to take the support to another level, hit that little 5-star, even if you don't think we 5 stars.
That's it. Let's go, y'all. We are closing out the vault. Another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Inside the Vault. Go to our website, InsideTheVaultShow.com. Me, I am Ash Cash. Make sure you visit me, IamAshCash.com. Follow me on all social media platforms at I am Ash Cash. Also, make sure you join the Abundance community. We got exclusive behind-the-scene tips, stuff that he didn't even say on this podcast. He's going to give you behind the scenes. We got a lot of stuff, so make sure you join the community, abundancecommunity.org. Thank you. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time, same place, in God's will.